Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Robert Stickle. I'm also joined by my colleague Jim Patterson. Jim will be presenting a special webinar topic in collaboration with Microsoft today as part of their webinar series that you may have seen previously. So today's topic is Lessons Learned from Customers Using Project for the Web Accelerator and OnePlan. This webinar is a new addition to our diverse library of project and portfolio management videos we have available on YouTube and our website. So if you enjoy this webinar, we welcome you to watch the other videos we have available there, and also check out Microsoft's channel when you get a chance. And as always, I hope that today's presentation grants you some insight into the world of project and portfolio management and gets you excited for the new developments happening within the industry and here at OnePlan. Thank you again. I'll now turn the presentation over to Jim.
Thanks, Robert, and welcome everybody. We're pleased to have you here today for this topic. Microsoft Project and its new project for the web are changing the way people are looking at doing project and portfolio management. And we're going to give you some real life examples of what customers are doing today, talk about some of the reasons why they're doing what they're doing, and then give you a demonstration of how some of these things are working in action. So with that, let's get started. We're going to talk about, a little bit about, the concepts here, show you that demo, and as Robert said, the Q&A at the end is for any questions that you might have to address with us individually. So with that, let's talk a little bit about OnePlan. Us being a partner of Microsoft, we are focused in the areas of project and portfolio management. We're proud to share that we've been named their Global Project and Portfolio Management of the Year partner 3 of the last 4 years and was the finalist in the year we're not. We also get recognized by the analysts like Gartner and Infotech Research for the thought leadership and the things that we're doing in this area. And it's why we participate in this and we focus so heavily and have a passion for project and portfolio management. So let's talk about the Microsoft offering. Microsoft is shifted in ways to address the needs of the modern work management landscape. The idea is to have teams work the way they want, but have executives get the results that they need. Microsoft Project and where it's evolving is to empower companies to achieve better results by aligning their investments with projects and resources and working with more agility and flexibility, but also be able to collaborate better, whether it be globally or with one another in the same co-located way. But it's all about making it easier to get what you need and get started with what people need to do from a project and portfolio management basis. And in modern work management, there's a number of different problems that are trying to be addressed. But one is, teams are working different ways. They're becoming more agile. They're not all doing the traditional waterfall stuff that we used to do in Microsoft Project and the desktop only. And so to meet those needs, we have to adapt, and Microsoft has. Also these days, not everybody that gets asked to manage a project is a classically trained project manager. There are some that get asked and dubbed a project manager for some purpose when their primary role is something else. And those casual project managers and younger workers who are used to kind of an app culture where on your phone, getting things up easy and quick and start being productive right away, trying to bring that same concept to project management and scheduling is something that we're looking at doing here today. So those are some of the focuses we're going to have here today. So let's think about the evolution of Microsoft Project. For years, people have been using Microsoft Project Professional on the desktop and doing their individual schedules. And when they wanted to do portfolio management for quite some many years now, the solution from Microsoft has been either Project Server or which became Project Online. And this Project Server, Project Online has done a nice job for people over the years. It is based on a SharePoint or SharePoint Online foundation, and it was a way to get kind of aggregated portfolios of information together from project planning, scheduling, and portfolio management, as well as being able to provide browser-based access for people to get wherever they wanted. And using Microsoft Project Professional, instead of just having MPP files scattered all over the organization, gave them a way to have a central repository or database of this information. Now, the new world, where things are going, is going in a couple different directions. And what we're going to focus on today is the new project for the web and Power Apps, which is the low-code, no-code platform in the Power Platform that Microsoft has for fashioning and creating solutions. There is an alternative in the Dynamics realm called Project Operations. And for a more targeted use case, more for the professional services automation or PSA market, where people have customer-facing projects and billable projects and things. It's primarily designed for that. Some folks will try to do traditional PPM in there, but more geared towards that targeted market with customer-facing things where billability and chargebacks is important. We're going to focus up above on the new Project for the Web and Power Apps option. So that's based on the new Microsoft Project for the Web. So those of you familiar with the Microsoft Project Professional and Microsoft Project Desktop, it has a scheduling engine like Microsoft Project on the desktop, but it has a totally web-based interface. And it's a simple yet powerful way to do this. You can see different modes in this animation where you might have a simple grid like a spreadsheet or a timeline with Gantt charts, or even work with it in terms of a board like in Planner with a more agile approach to doing those types of things. That's all available to us within Project for the Web. The key here is for those casual project managers and the ones that don't have time to get trained on a complex tool, to give them a fresh new experience, make collaboration easy, and make it easy to get started. Now, this new Microsoft solution is built on the Power Platform, and many of you are using components from that Power Platform today. Many organizations that are Microsoft shops are extensively using Power BI for reporting, dashboards, and analytics. Power Automate's been out there for workflow automation and process automation and some connectivity of data between tools. Power Apps, as I had mentioned, is the low-code, no-code platform that allows us to put solutions in place without necessarily having to be able to write code and not have a developer on our hip to do those types of things. And this new Project for the Web is built in this platform. And all of the data is stored in Dataverse, which is the database repository on the back end of this that allows us to aggregate this data and get to it and use it in a number of different ways. Now, not everybody's starting from the same place. So for example, if we think about this in terms of a crawl, walk, run type of approach, you don't have to be a robustly mature project management organization to get started and get benefit from these tool sets. We'll talk about tools that, how you can grow and evolve into this should you need to get to those later stages. So as I mentioned, building Project for the Web plans and schedules automatically get stored in the Dataverse repository. And that Dataverse repository, you could use it to just as a file repository, a data repository to access your schedules and just do that. But there's not as much value into that as harnessing it into a solution in Power Apps. And this Power App, for example, will allow you to have portfolio level data and things that we would like to show you today on how you can manage this in a portfolio realm, or even from a program management perspective, and do more than what you would do just in managing your individual schedules. To that end, even though Power Apps is a low-code, no-code platform, not everyone has the appetite to fashion their own solutions. And to that end, OnePlan was pleased to be asked to develop or create an accelerator to provide these portfolio management capabilities for Project for the Web. And it's now called the Project Management Office Accelerator. It's available for download on GitHub, or you can go through AppSource. If you look up OnePlan, there's an access to there. And you can bring this down and add those capabilities, which by default will provide those capabilities to the Project for the Web projects that you create. So in this, think about Project for the Web by itself, like we showed you in that diagram. You can create projects, you can create the task plans and schedules in there. And then there's Power BI reports and dashboard. There's a content pack just for it that you get out of the box so you can start doing some reporting on it right away. Now, with the accelerator, you're adding components, and the purple items are the ones that illustrate this. So not only do you get, say, a project request area so you can do intake and demand, you get a portfolio of projects that can actually be aggregated into programs and logically grouped programs of multiple projects. And even other tables or entities for things like issues and risks and changes, status reports, etc., that get added to the mix, and more data at the portfolio level than you would have if you were just working with this from a Project from the Web scheduling basis. And the idea is this is a pre-configured solution, but it can be extended, and you can add different elements and different fields and things like that to meet your specific needs. So if you look at this with Project for the Web, Power BI, and the Project Management Office Accelerator, you still build your schedules, They show up in a portfolio with the fields of data that you've chosen to plan and track to. And then you have even an extended set of Power BI reports, because now we have this portfolio level data that's being captured, and we can report on that and categorize our projects and characterize our projects the way we want. Now, that's meeting the needs of many organizations. Many organizations say this is what we want. It's giving us visibility, it's giving us a portfolio of projects and the information we're looking for. But analysts like the Gartner Group are saying, critical capabilities for project and portfolio management as we mature may include other things. So if we look at the things, say for an example in the blue, like time management, financial management, resource capacity planning, and even more advanced project portfolio management concepts, it may need some additions in order to help you do those things. And if we take this and characterize it as kind of a walk stage, we can extend what's in that accelerator using OnePlan, which is built to extend the accelerator seamlessly and provide those additional capabilities. So as you see on the right here, those boxes are the ones that we showed in the last slide, but making room for some additional capabilities that you might want from OnePlan that would plug right into your accelerator. Do you want to have strategic execution plans and strategic alignment? Do you want more advanced portfolio management capabilities with things like what-if analysis? Do you want to do some more advanced prioritization or detailed financial tracking or resource capacity planning and trade-offs and resource negotiations? Or even have a timesheet, for example, or a single place to do work updates. These are things that can be added to the mix by just plugging them into the accelerator. And these are provided by OnePlan. And the capabilities we're talking about here are things like advanced portfolio views with more graphical representations of the portfolio, and even looking at what, say, the resource or financial impacts might be in what-if analysis. Resource capacity planning in a variety of fashions, whether it be in FTEs or hours or percentages of allocation, and be able to either do top-down or bottoms-up roll-ups of that resource plan. Detailed financial plans with detailed cost categories and detailed cost types like budgets versus revised forecasts versus actuals, and maybe even planning for anticipated revenue or benefits. And then there's the idea of schedules and backlogs, the ability to not only take what's in Project for the web, but be able to bring in other tools like, say, Microsoft Project on the desktop, or agile backlogs that would come in from something like an Azure DevOps, something that's an addition to the mix rather than just the pure Project for the web for the execution of plans. And then obviously the My Work we talked about, and the timesheet aspect, and even a homepage for alerts. So there's additional rich capabilities that can be added should you need them. Now, we can even extend it a little further. So if you want to talk about the run stage of this, let's take the additions that we saw in the blue, and let's add the idea of maybe being able to connect to other execution tools. Maybe Project for the web isn't the right tool for certain teams or for certain projects that you have. And maybe you want to add Project Desktop or Project Professional to the mix and bring data from those into the Accelerator platform. Or maybe you might want to use Azure DevOps or a non-Microsoft project tool like a Jira, or a Smartsheet, for example. Being able to bring that data in now gets us into what they call a full adaptive PPM, which is mixed methodology and mixed execution tools, all rolling into a common portfolio. And these are things that we can provide with this extended kind of run scenario. And this is all done through connectors. Some of it can be done with Microsoft Power Automate. Other ones, might require a dedicated connector, and there's pre-built connectors that OnePlan can provide for things like Azure DevOps and Jira, your financial systems, your service management systems, and others. The idea here is that it can bring in a more hybrid solution and do that seamlessly and ongoing. So if we talk about some of the customers that have implemented these Microsoft technologies today and maybe had different needs and on different scales from a crawl, walk, run perspective, let's start with a company called Albany International. They're a global manufacturing business that specializes in high-tech weaving. And their two branches of business are, they do machine cloth that are consumable fabrics for belts for the manufacturer of paper products, and they have engineered composites that they build for the aerospace industry. And it's about a 5,000 employee company that are heavily invested in the Microsoft stack. They are a Microsoft shop. And that was one of the benefits and one of the reasons why they came to the solution. And they tried a number of different project management solutions over the last several years with varying degrees of success or lack thereof. And one of their challenges was one of the main ones we stated up front, that the project managers are not full-time. They're part-time project managers. They're not classically trained. And some of the goals and some of the things they were trying to achieve were simple project work organization and milestone task planning, and to have easy project work visibility across all projects so that both the people executing and upper management can have the visibility that they need. And they chose Project for the Web because they were already a Microsoft shop. They use Teams. They're big on Office 365, and they saw the opportunity for integrating project-related work with the rest of the Microsoft technology stack. And they chose to go with the Accelerator and Project for the Web to light up additional functionality to Project for the Web with different pieces of metadata they want, and program and portfolio groupings and other information they might want to carry on that, and project and status updates and integrated reporting in all one central location. And they were able to achieve that in that crawl state with the Accelerator and Project for the Web. So today they're leveraging the Project Accelerator or Top Project for the Web fully. It's been customized, or I should configured to their needs with additional project metadata and flows from Power Automate. And they actually use flows to even assign owner groups based upon other metadata so that there's automatic transactions that allow that to happen, so they don't have to do that manually. And they have a pretty good portfolio of projects. They're currently supporting approximately 800 active projects and have approximately 200 active users enabled for Project for the Web licensing. And it's bringing this data all together for them successfully. Once again, their needs did not go beyond what the Accelerator and Project for the Web provided. So it looks almost exactly like the chart I showed earlier on in that crawl situation, and they're using it to a T, and it's meeting their needs completely. So their future goals are kind of to expand their project portfolio visibility and have some enhancements to reporting and get more data elements in there so they can visualize and provide information on more dimensions than they are doing today. And so there's plans to do that. And they're also watching Microsoft as they evolve. This Project for the Web technology is adding more capabilities over time. And they really want to get to a more single pane of glass where, Teams integration with the Tasks app or the, Planner and To-Dos it's more of that task fabric to be able to update all things in one place in Teams. And that's coming on the Microsoft roadmap. Another company is Wahl. And some of you may know Wahl. Wahl Clipper is the world leader in manufacturing and distribution of professional and consumer clippers, trimmers, and shavers, and other personal care devices. We probably all run into their products at some point in time. And their business objective is that they wanted to implement a hybrid work environment. This was even pre-COVID, this was there, but then that even accentuated it. They had access from anywhere was the goal. But they wanted to be able to collaborate centrally in one place, in one solution. And to do this, they leveraged the Accelerator in Power Apps, Project for the Web, and incorporated the use of Teams with that. It fit nicely with their current Microsoft 365 model, and it also met with their maturity level of their organization. They also, too, had a lot of casual or occasional project managers like we described earlier on with Albany. And then they wanted to manage strategic projects using OnePlan for greater control, meaning they had a need for the strategic projects to have specific elements and disciplines and visibility that are needed to make sure that that strategic plan was being executed, as well as the projects themselves were aligned with those strategies appropriately. And they also wanted to leverage Power BI for reporting across all their projects. So what they're doing today is their initial implementation is complete. They're continuing to roll out to additional audiences with training and onboarding. And they're really widening this out to more of a business audience as opposed to more of an IT audience. Now, the Project Accelerator is providing that collaborative work management like we discussed earlier on. Projects and tasks and logging issues and risks and changes and having those Power BI reports. But OnePlan is being layered into the mix here for more of that strategic portfolio management capability, to have more enhanced portfolio visibility and capability, to doing program management, to doing more prioritization and selection more visibly and maybe even graphically with drag and drop, and detailed financials and resource capacity planning. And they're actually bringing in not only Project for the Web, but Project Desktop or Project Professional plans into the mix. So in that Accelerator, they are now being able to see inputs that are coming from both Project for the Web and Project Desktop. Now, what are Wahl's future goals? Well, they're focused on adoption and change management, and they really want to increase across the organization, all project managers and team members to participate in this. And it does require a little bit of change culture and mindset. So change management is something that always needs to be addressed. And sometimes organizations, a lesson learned is they sometimes shortchange that aspect of it. In the interest to bring things in at a certain dollar or budget amount, that whole adoption of the fact that there is change involved and culture needs to be shifted, and messaging needs to happen, and knowledge transfer and training has to occur, and there has to be some nurturing along the ways for people to be successful. They're taking that into consideration, and that is a success factor. We will provide more training and more support to help in that adoption process, and they're going to keep connecting more projects for the web projects to OnePlan when they're qualified as strategic. So the mix is going to keep growing as they try to expand this discipline. And then there's Technicolor, a name we probably all heard of. They're a worldwide creative technology leader in media and entertainment and digital innovation. So we've seen a lot of things in movies and otherwise where their branding is at the forefront. And this was interesting. They were on one of those early versions of Project Server. They were on Project Server 2013 that was coming to end of life or end of support. And they also needed to bring together multiple groups who were managing projects using different tools and budget tracking methods, meaning that they were in silos. They needed a better way to provide visibility on things like budget consumption and a single source of information instead of trying to aggregate this stuff manually. They also had to engage users in different user communities who were using a variety of tools and bring them into a common platform. They were using things like Jira, Project Professional, Excel, and others. And they also were trying to update to get a more modern user experience, right? And support intake through execution, so the full end-to-end lifecycle. And they also wanted to address reporting limitations they had in their current solution because they were having trouble bringing together financial and project status information into a common platform and a common visibility forum. So where are they today? Well, they migrated off of Project Server 2013, that's complete. They have integration with Jira, and that's in place. And Power Automate is also pulling data from multiple business systems into the OnePlan PPM platform with the Microsoft Power Platform to get that all into one common place, even though there may be multiple sources where that data is coming from. There's even been an integration and incorporation of an Azure data lake so that there's one database repository with regular data snapshots so that enhanced reporting and trending can be done. So that's something that was easily done with the OneConnect platform that we talked about. And then there's also a custom app that was built in Teams. Now, we talked about the fact that there's a timesheet that's available from OnePlan, but being able to make that available in a very Teams-oriented type of approach was something that we were able to configure and do for them so that they can just do it right from within Teams. And then automated user management has also been enabled within Power Automate, so it lowers the administrative burden to make sure that user management doesn't have to be labor intensive. So Technicolor, their stack is looking a little more complex. They've got the Power Apps components in the purple. They've got the OnePlan and OneConnect components in the blue, and they're using Power Automate extensively for both workflow and some data connections. They're using Teams for content and collaboration, and then they have an extended amount of dashboards and reports that are using not only the native sources here, but also an Azure data lake for that reporting as well. So once again, more of a run scenario with Technicolor, and they continue to advance this and enhance it and add to the mix. So this is quite an impressive implementation. So their future goals are to continue to enhance the user experience and continue to build on what they're doing in Power Apps and Teams, and continue to grow the use of the Power Platform with new apps and automation to connect the things as needed, and to continue to use their Power BI analytics to meet their growing reporting requirements. So those are some of the examples that, as I went through that sequence, were more of a crawl, more of a walk, and then more of a run. So with that, let me go to more of a demonstration of some of these capabilities. So let's talk about the Accelerator. And in this demo, this Project Management Office Accelerator, if you were to implement this in a crawl fashion, there are different tables or entities that are set up for you out of the box. Meaning, yes, there's dashboards and some charts that you can have right here within the solution. There is project requests that you can actually have intake for, and this table for project requests is in here that allows you to come in, and if you opened up one of them, put a new request into place and capture the data and metadata you want around that, some narrative around details and business case, and even prioritization schemes, which could end up with calculated prioritization scores, but these are configurable to what you would like them to be. So those project requests could then also, upon approval via workflow or by just having the approval mechanism switched here by somebody with authority, can actually promote those things to projects within the solution. Now, those projects show up in a portfolio, and the same one here shows up in the project as it was promoted from that and was approved, this 401k enhancements. As I drill into that, you'll see that it adds capabilities in here like summary of information, like all the metadata you want to capture around that. Summary information on how we're doing on things like schedule and effort and program financials and other attributes that we might have around that. And once again, the fields of data you capture in here are configurable, but this is an example of what you'd get out of the box. You also have things like, issues and risks, when you can have a log in here to capture those things. Add, for example, a new risk into here and be able to capture things like probabilities and impacts and exposure and mitigation plans and contingency plans, and have that done right here within the context here. If I go to a different project, I'll go to one that has a little more data in it. Let's look at, say, the issues that might be in here. And so in those issues, you might have issues logged in here and captured as well as change requests. And this gives you the ability to do this stuff beyond what you might have in the schedules themselves. So for example, if I went into, open up a schedule from Project for the Web, it's now available to me within of this accelerator or this Power App, but it's also there in conjunction with all of the other data that we're capturing at this level. And so it's configurable. You can add to the fields of data that are in each of these elements. And depending on your licensing, you can add more entities or tables in here for things like, lessons learned or whatever it might be, so that you can capture whatever data it is that's important for you to capture. There's also a concept of status reporting, such that you might have data that pulls in objectively from the schedules and other data that's in the system automatically, and then you may capture a status report that might have narrative around that, so that you can actually capture the narrative pieces of that status and capture them on a time phase basis for each reporting period as you see fit. We also have the ability to aggregate these projects into programs. And as we aggregate these into programs, you can see if I drill into a particular program, I could have general information regarding these particular programs, the data and metadata I want to capture around that. I could even have a financial section in here that actually has, for example, program level budgets, for example, and also what member projects are taking or consuming from that budget, and keeping an active track of what remaining budget allocation we might have. And this is coming from the fact that we have member projects in here. So this program is actually made up of an aggregation of all these different projects that are in our project portfolio. They're all consuming budget. They all have their individual schedules, and they're being pulled together here in a program grouping that you see fit to determine what members are in what programs. If we look at this and we want to take it to the next level, and yes, there's reports in here, right? So you can capture and have your Power BI reports in here, and there's a base report pack from Microsoft that allows you to report on things like requests and programs, etc., and be able to do that from right here within the Power App itself. And so from the base accelerator, these are the base components that you have. Now, we talked about the walk scenario where we would use the accelerator in conjunction with some additional OnePlan capabilities. If I go light this up with those additional capabilities, these are seamlessly added. Notice we have more elements in the navigation here on the left-hand side. For example, we talked about a My Work area where I could come in and a user could come in and actually access all the projects that they're assigned work to, and they can actually update those all from one place. So for example, I'm looking at these things by plan, and I can see on the customer survey, I have a number of different tasks that I can either complete, I can put in percent completes, I can even do things like put in notes, or I could have conversation threads and threaded discussions over here, or I can even create my own activities in here for what I want to do by adding that in. There's a timesheet if you have the needs to actually report time. So that timesheet would allow you to come in and do the timesheeting function right here from within the Accelerator with the help of OnePlan, and be able to enter that time as you see fit. There's also an enhanced analyzer in here. So from a portfolio perspective, you can come in here and work with this in a variety of fashions. I could have different views, for example, like I could have a view that's more, I don't know, KPI oriented, where I can graphically show these things, and I can show that they're all connected to Project for the Web plans. I could have different KPIs in here. I can do different prioritization if I want to. I could come in and say, for example, let me look at a project prioritization view. And in there, I've got some elements that I can change to drive a calculated score. And in that, I could possibly even come in and go into more of a manual drag and drop prioritization mode, where I have a ranking right here of these different projects. And for example, I might take one project and say, this shouldn't be number 10, even though the score says that. Maybe I should bring this up and make this number 5 instead. And you can do these forced rankings right here within the portfolio. And in these, you can even do resource constrained and financial constrained analysis, where I can come and says, to do this portfolio, to fit it within a target, do these fit within the budgets that I have, and look within that. Does that make sense for me to do so? Or do I have the resources to do the work that's in here? And I can deselect, for example, the lower priority projects and say, what does that do? And dynamically change what the resource allocations are. Or I could come in and actually say, let me delete some of the projects in here that it makes sense to do so. If I go to another environment, for example, and show how it could even be updated even further, notice now this left navigation is expanded even farther. Now we've got things like corporate strategy with objectives and key results and strategic analysis. We've got maybe demand management, where we expand the requests into, say, challenges and ideas. We can see different tools that we're connected to as well. In this case, I've got objectives and key results, or OKRs, which can be aligned with the projects themselves. I can come down to the analyzer in here and just take this all to a different level. So where before everything was connected to a Project for the Web schedule, you might have more hybrid needs, like some of our clients have had. And notice the icons to the left here in the portfolio, whereby some of them are connected to things like Jira or Azure DevOps, or some are connected to Project Professional, and some are connected to Project for the Web, and also connected to team sites so that they can go in here. And then there's also some, variety of the ways that you can actually do the execution on each of these project plans, but have them come into the same portfolio. If we look at, for example, teams, I'll look at a particular project here. Let's see, support customer using mobile. And if I go click on the connection to the team site here, we can actually open the team that this is connected to. And then when we do so, it basically will come in and give us the access to, for this particular project, posts and files and content and other things that we might have, as well as access to the OnePlan components themselves, which augment what's going on with the Accelerator. And the idea is we can access that right here from within Teams and work with it in a way that makes the most sense. And we can include things like the reporting, the Accelerator itself, and everything right into the mix here as we're dealing with these with this information right here from within Teams. Back to the portfolio. If I drill into a specific project, and I'll just drill into the support customer using mobile, you'll notice that we have financial planning in here that rolled up, and I showed some of that in the portfolio. But it's coming from detailed financial plans that we can have in here, resource plans that we can build up with both generics or teams or named individuals, and we can plan in terms of hours or FTEs or percentages of allocation. Those things are in here. And if we go into the work plan itself, there's different work types in here that allow us to work with more waterfall type approaches or more agile type approaches. So for example, the schedule work type that's in here would allow us to bring in data, in this case, from Microsoft Project. And this is actually connected to a Microsoft Project plan. If we open that, it allows us to look at that Microsoft Project plan that is the source on Project Desktop or Project Professional. And there is actually a OnePlan connector that allows us to publish and receive updates to this project plan right from here within the actual PPM solution that's using OnePlan to connect to Project Desktop and add that to the project for the web mix that's in here. Also, if we look at the backlog work type, you might be connected to an Azure DevOps plan. And in here, in this backlog work type, I now have user stories and features and things like that. And this is connected actually to an Azure DevOps plan. And when we open this up, it's connected to something in Azure DevOps, bringing in more agile data into our singular portfolio and our portfolio management solution, and allows us to synchronize that data from this particular epic, for example, in this case, as we go on through. Now, the nice part is that when we start bringing all these things from various sources into one place, we can look at things from a very centralized basis when it comes to things like, say, resource plans. I showed you the individual resource plan within an individual project, but that's got to roll up into an overall resource plan across all your projects. And some of them may be managed in Project Desktop or Project for the Web or Azure DevOps in this case. And as I look in here, we can see Adam Nishimori is on a bunch of different projects, and that's what's rolling into his over allocation in here. And we can reconcile, we can have negotiation between project managers and resource managers, and we can even find appropriate substitutions by trying to find resources to replace somebody. Like if I wanted to replace Adam or find a substitute for him on this particular project, I can actually replace a resource from that by selecting resources and finding them down below and finding ones that might have appropriate availability. And then on the reporting side, we did show you a little bit of that, but with the Accelerator, we now add a lot more reporting at the portfolio level that allows us to do things on the strategic level and other things. So for example, the objectives and the strategy plan are now available to us for reporting. You know, the key results, we can track how well we're doing on the different key results that we're trying to strive for from our organization, and even more portfolio summary information that we might gather in those regards and be able to drill into these things. So for example, I could drill into a specific portfolio, for example, and look at data around that, and in have the programs within that portfolio in this case, and look at how we're doing that, maybe even focus and drilling into a particular portfolio, a particular program. And now I'm looking down at the different projects and epics within that particular area, and then even get status KPI data, financial data for those particular elements, even down to the gory execution details on how we're doing on things like milestones and tasks and issues and risks. So pulling this all together in one place in more of a run scenario integrated with other tools is something that we can do. So much like Albany was all in the Accelerator, Wahl went further and combined the Accelerator with some OnePlan components, and then Technicolor had disparate groups and different tools and methodologies they were bringing together in more of a run scenario. So now let's go to some summary and wrap up. To learn more about Project, and by the way, you'll get a copy of these slides. You can visit the website for Microsoft Project. You can actually try it out for free. And there's some help at support.microsoft.com/project for learnings and getting more familiar with this. You could also connect with me on LinkedIn. You'll get this slide, or if you want to take a screen capture of the QR code, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn if you like. And we also offer some things to help you. If you're in kind of that mindset where you're not quite sure what you're doing yet, or you're just exploring, OnePlan does offer migration workshops to help you see what it would take to get you from where you are today into a solution like we showed you today in one of those variations. We also are pleased to announce that you have access to free trials for the Project Accelerator. You can either come to OnePlan on AppSource, or you can go up to GitHub and get the Accelerator and download it yourself. You do need some permissions in your organization in order to make that happen, so you may need some assistance and guidance. We're happy to chaperone you through that. You could also try the OnePlan components, and you could actually get those on AppSource from Microsoft as well. The most fully functional one is the strategic portfolio management. You might try there. And then if you just want to discuss what this thing would take and what it would look like, we can go and have a roadmap workshop with you guys on a free complimentary basis so that we can review your current use of solutions, assess your current requirements, and determine how to implement or migrate into a new solution and what that might mean from a roadmap perspective and even as a total cost of ownership, because you may already own a good chunk of what you need. So free trial, roadmap workshop, reach out to us for a personalized one-on-one demo. I gave a very high-level demo today. Contact us at contact@oneplan.ai. Check it out more at OnePlan, or we even have a dedicated site for the Project Accelerator called ppmaccelerator.com. You can get more information there and even access to a trial. So with that, I thought we could open it up for questions. Let me see what questions we may have. Does Project for the Web allow cost control? In and of itself, it allows you to capture some high-level costs, especially with the Accelerator. As I showed in the Accelerator, there's ability to capture financials at a certain degree. Where OnePlan can help is they can help by adding that detailed financial planner with more detailed cost categories and CapEx and OpEx delineations. So it can be done, but it depends on the level and degree of detail that you want to capture. You can even connect those things to your financial system if you like, with the connector approach that we talked about. Could you please share the slides afterward? Yes, all the deck and slides will be done. So, covered for you, as well as a recording of what was shown here today. Are there any other questions out there? Someone's asking about, is there a connection to Smartsheets? OnePlan is actually coming out with a connector for Smartsheet to allow you to bring that data in. That is possible. Reach out to us and we're happy to explore alternatives with you, Joe. All right, well, if there are no other questions, I'd like to thank you for your time and attention today. We'd really love to engage with you. Feel free to reach out to me directly or at the contact@oneplan.ai, and we're happy to answer any specific questions that didn't get covered for you here today. Thank you and have a great day.